Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, November 10th, 2009 meeting of Glendale Redevelopment Agency. Mr. City Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Agency members: Friedman.
Here.
Najarian. Here. Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Chairman Drimm.
Here. And could we hear your report, please, Mr. Kasakian?
Agenda for the November 10th, 2009 regular meeting of the Glendale Redevelopment Agency was posted on Thursday, November 5th, 2009 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you very much. And our next item?
Approval of minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second.
Abstention.
And an abstention. And with that abstention, we will accept the minutes as presented. Our next item.
Next item is oral communication. Discussion is limited time and is not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the redevelopment agency may question or respond to a speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The matter may be referred to staff through the executive director for investigation and a report.
Okay, thank you very much. We have two speakers for oral communication. Herbert Milano, followed by Mike Mohill.
Agency Chair Draymond, members of the agency, city staff, my name is Herbert Milano. Oftentimes when I look at the city's revenue stream, we look towards the redevelopment agency as the lead agency in bringing in, should we say, significant amount of revenues, particularly with regard to sales tax and occupancy tax. And I personally am in favor of looking at opportunities as well, how we can enliven the city in such a way that it can bring substantial amounts. You know, as we all know, the city of Burbank makes substantially more sales tax revenue than the city of Glendale. So does Pasadena. And in Pasadena, they have a unique facility, which is a mid-sized convention center that is very engaging. And they are booked throughout the whole year, and they bring a significant amount of traffic. And even though we have the Civic Auditorium, it's way too far from the center of town. And it's not modern enough to be attractive, particularly for individuals who want to attend a mid-sized trade show. I've done scores of trade shows throughout the United States, and I always found that, you know, now that you have the Americana, that you have at least a focal point of interest, that would be an ideal place to have a convention center in the center of town. Now, in the city of Vancouver, Washington, I went there about a month ago because I was interested in looking at their Central Park and how it segues with all the surrounding area. And they have a park very similar in size to Central Park here. But adjacent to that is a convention center, and it has basically caused additional development of condominiums throughout, and the place looks really quite nice. And it is my hope that some of you will take at least some of the city money and visit a place like Vancouver and maybe even Portland, to get some sense of how dynamic these cities are really becoming. And Vancouver is is a small city, basically not quite as dynamic by far as Glendale is. My suggestion is that you do have an area that is suitable and ideal for a mid-sized convention center, and that is the area directly south of the Central Park. Now we got the Armory there, and then we got the city parking lot, and we got another parking lot owned, I think, by the Catholic Church. And then you got this building, which is the furniture store, that it's got no visual architectural amenities that I would say is worth for a downtown that you're now changing. So I know that even though there's an obstacle with regard to the issue of the Armory, I think that with enough imagination, we can be able to perhaps relocate it, suggest a relocation for it, and create a truly dynamic downtown that can bring in a very significant amount of interesting traffic that would enhance and segue anything that you will come up with regard to the arts, culture, and of course the commercial amenities now available at the Americana. I've always looked at downtown in that area as really an area prime for really some significant imagination to really create something dynamic. And any income that comes in from occupancy tax and sales tax is not a tax that is going to burden the residents and the current stakeholders of Glendale. And I think it's an ideal way of generating the revenue that you need by really looking anew at that opportunity that you have in that whole block, you know, and perhaps even open up a little bit so we can see the church from the park as well, and, you know, and segue that whole area such that you make it a really truly inviting place. Now, one of the trade shows that I attend with some frequency are the trade shows for the food industry. In many of these trade shows, especially today, where many vendors are not going to the major trade shows, they would actually go to a regional trade show. So in the chemical industry, you find them attending local trade shows. The food technology group do it right here in Pasadena. And I always thought it was a shame to lose all that significant amount of revenue that we don't get. And I'm suggesting then that the city look at that opportunity, especially if you're going to be extending the redevelopment agency's mandate, for another 15 years or so, to look at that opportunity as a way of really generating a significant, steady amount of revenue. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Milano. Mr. Mohill, Mike Mohill.
Thank you, Mr. Draymond, City Council people, Mike Mohill. Mr. Milano brought up some great ideas, a convention center. Never thought about that one. But that reminds me, we just went ahead and put in the Pacific Pool, 6 lanes only. It would be nice to make it a 12-lane Olympic-sized pool, make it a regional swimming event, so people will come from all over the state to Glendale and use our major train station. We got to think out of the box. We got to think great, okay? So Mr. Milano's idea was wonderful. This is the piece of news I got out of the LA Times business section, October the 18th, headline news. So everybody can see it. It says the following: Commercial Real Estate Quarterly Report, Wide Open Spaces. Almost 51 million square feet of Southland office space is vacant. Tenants have upper hand in lease deals. Landlords have their backs against the wall. Rental rates fall. My wife, as you people all know, works for a property management company, and they just took a hit this week. One of their major tenants has 7 buildings, commercial buildings, and they're going to be changing hands come next month. My wife has just been informed she's taken a 10% cut in salary, and she hasn't made a 10% increase in wages over the last 5 years. So here we have a burden going on. And then last week we went ahead and passed the $28 million in redevelopment bonds. Who's going to buy these bonds with this economy? And if we start building and make the commitment without having money in the bank for it, and there's nobody to fill in those office spaces, who's going to pay the interest rates on the money? I'm concerned, because as far as I can see, it's going to go to the general fund. And the general fund is me personally, not the developers. I don't have an impact fee. I am going to have an impact fee. But the developers and the landlords are supposed to be paying for this bond, if I understand the way it works, not the residents who live north of the 134 freeway or the south of the 134 freeway. I'm very concerned that we made this commitment. Please, I would like to know from the redevelopment agency what would happen if we can't meet the obligation of the bond. It concerns me. It concerns my neighbors. After all, we're in a down economy. In fact, as you see, if you read in today's weekend papers, we're at 10.2% official unemployment. And if you can factor in people who want to work or part-time, it's another 8%. We're like 17.5% unemployment in the county, and still counting. Oh, I forgot to mention, our treasurer just reported in his report, which will be for tonight, he says the recession is over. Isn't that amazing? With almost 18% unemployment, and he has the audacity to tell the people in Glendale that the recession is over. I'm telling you, with my 10% salary cut in my family, I had to think, wife has already told me, hey, Mike, What are you going to be doing differently this past next year because we're having a cut in income, and I live on Social Security? Commitment by this city council. And I see headline news. 15, what is the number right here? Wide open space. 51 million square feet, Southland open space is vacant. Oh, I forgot to mention, we have about 900 foreclosures in the city of Glendale, and still counting. And here we are, we're like drunken sailors, spending money, rather than keeping it tight, we just let it go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mohill. Our next item?
Next item is any agency member or staff comments.
Mr.
I was just
Quintero.
going to suggest that with a 10% cut, Mr. Mohill should consider riding coach. Forget first class, Mr. Mohill. Can't afford it.
Okay.
My only comment.
Mr. Najarian? Mr. Friedman? Mr. Weaver? All right, our next item.
If there's no new business,
There is none. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the joint meeting.